Welcome to the No Name Brand Podcast. My name is Sashka Hanarampal, actress, singer, dancer, turned brand marketing, sales, and advertising strategist who brands your soul. And each week I bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover your undergod, turn up your leadership notches, challenge the status quo, because you're fast and furious with a powerful message to share with the world. Thank you for taking time out with me today, and without further ado, let's get our creative and wisdom juices flowing. In order for you to achieve what you want, you need to go through whatever's holding you back. Profound statement, I think. But what if you have no freaking idea what that thing is that's holding you back? You can only describe it as something. And many of us tend to go on this wild goose chase trying to find that something. Like Lord of the Rings mission, where the ring that you carry is always distracting you and keeping you from that ultimate mission. Our next guest knows this described mission all too well and has since made it her mission to help extraordinary people take the leap without knowing yet what that something is and holding your hand all the way. She's tenacious, determined, and a kick-up-the-butt coach if you ever needed one. Please help me in welcoming our guest, SUSIE RAMROOP. Hello, Susie. How are you?
Hello, I'm well. Do you know, I'm going to have to copy what you just said. That was really nice.
Thank you. I like to do my research. Cool. It's brilliant. Oh, there's a nice little compliment for me. Good on you. So I want to start off asking you, at what point in your life, if you can remember, did you admit to yourself that your dreams were unrealistic? And what 3 steps help you turn those dreams into reality?
Oh, do you know, I don't think I've admitted it.
Oh, well, there we go.
I don't think I will ever admit it. So for a very black and white person, I'm quite grey in those terms. So I've got on my vision board this future property that I will own. And that property is going to be a boutique hotel where my husband, who is a tennis pro, coaches athletes or wannabe athletes or people that are just full up and they want to do something new. And I do the mindset work with them. And for the second half of the year, that place will become my retreat space. And I've got this, it's quite a long property. And I did catch myself recently going, that is a big dream. Maybe that dream's a little bit too far away because of the length of that property. And interestingly, I stuck something else on my vision board, which covered up the extension of that property. And I thought, okay, now that isn't so scary. So perhaps I'm not really acknowledging or admitting that I want to admit that those things are too big. But I think sometimes when you want to take a leap to a massive result, you've got to really question, are you prepared to do the work? Are you willing to do what it takes to get there? And certainly for my clients and more recently for me, I thought, yeah, I'm willing to do the work, but why introduce so much fear into the equation when you could just do it gradually? Who's to say I couldn't buy half that house and build the rest? You know, why do I have to target that whole house? So in answer to your question, I think as you check in with your goals, I don't know if it's about admission, but it's definitely about a judgment of attainability for sure. And it's probably something to do with what am I feeling that I can do today towards it? And when your goal is so big, you might just have to break that thing down. And for me, rather than a 3 steps, as long as I feel like I'm contributing, then I'm happy. I kind of don't look at the whole goal. So it's like that analogy I think Jack Canfield uses in The Secret film where with headlight. You don't need to have the whole way lit up. You just need to have the next 200 yards. I'm kind of like that in my approach, which is probably why I can't answer the admission part of the question, because I am trusting that as long as I'm in motion and as long as I'm stretching myself, then that's okay. So I started my online career looking to take leaps, and I just think that's too scary for some people, and personally it's too scary for me. So many a time I've just said, look, if I can just do something that's a bit uncomfortable, a bit beyond my comfort zone, then I know that I am stretching. And even if that thing isn't related to that big long house, I still know that by stretching myself somehow I'm contributing to a bigger version of me, which is ultimately what I want to do, right? So I didn't answer a question at all.
You did. Well, there are kind of 3 steps in there. You know, there's the admission or the admitting of it. There's the chunking down of it.
Yeah.
And then, and I forgot the third one, but yeah.
But I guess it's not so conscious for me. And I think I was always that way when I was working. It was always very, well, what's the vision and what's the plan? And I just have realized that doesn't serve me that well. What does serve me is having one intention, which is to be unrecognizable. And when I'm unrecognizable, that means I'm doing something different. I'm doing something that isn't familiar to me or to people looking at me. And I'm always looking for what that unfamiliar, unrecognizable thing is. And it's always going to help me grow, and it's always going to give me more courage.
I love that. And that's what we need to make those unrealistic dreams come
Absolutely.
true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What is it about folks who just don't finish or, produce anything? I see this so often with friends and family. Is it a form of limiting beliefs, or have they just lost interest? Share some light on this.
That's so funny. If you do these tests, these kind of personality type tests, you can be labeled one of those people, that you are not a finisher. And I think that it just, going back to what we just said, it just means it's not familiar to you. It's not your natural preference. And I think anyone can finish, provided what they're doing is something they really want. So I think part of it is that people are picking goals that aren't actually theirs. So they're being influenced by people around them. If I go back to my 20s, I had a boyfriend that everyone else fancied. I didn't really. I mean, he was a handsome man, but everyone else was like, wow, he is. And I just thought, well, maybe I ought to go out. And I think people apply that logic to their goals. They're heading for that career step because it's the logical thing and everyone's saying they should. But is their heart really in it? Are they willing to do what it takes to get there? I'm not sure. And interestingly, I put a question out on Facebook yesterday about the number of books people are reading, because I think it maps to your question. It's about attention span. It's about seeing something through to the end. And every single person I asked was not reading one book. And I think that is a sign of something. I think that is, you can't focus and you're not finishing, and you're looking everywhere for the answers, but you're not really clear what the question is, are you? Exactly. And I do judge that. People are very defensive about that, but I do judge that, because I think I'm reading 4 books at the moment. I'm avoiding something. And yeah, you can say you're educating yourself and you're taking a roundabout route and you can learn from everything. But if you absolutely want that thing you're going after, why are you looking at anything else? Yeah. So I think it comes down to desire.
Definitely. Well, I just think, just something anal is when you're trying to lose weight.
Yes.
And it's just not working. You're not finishing it. I mean, every single woman is always either on a diet to lose weight or put on weight. It's one of the two. And it's like, why can't I finish this? And there's the underlying reason. It's not about the weight that you're wanting to lose. You're either running away from something or trying to cover up with something. And it's discerning, what is it that I'm actually trying to unfold over here? But my scapegoat is the weight.
Have you seen my diet training by any chance?
No. Do you have a diet training?
We're recording this, right? So I'm about to launch my Way Less, Play Bigger course.
Oh, cool.
And this is all about this. This is about the people that are constantly saying, referencing your last question, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. Do you?
Yeah.
Are you prepared to do the work? Because the thing is, again, they're losing weight really because they feel they ought to. They don't want to lose weight. That's why they're carrying it.
Yeah.
And you're right, some form of protection that is a really convenient excuse for why they can't do things, and I just think, if you don't want to do things, own that. If you want to lose weight, own that. Yeah. But again, I do think it's a law of attraction thing, where Bob Proctor said this brilliant thing. If you lose something, you are programmed to want to find it. So when you are focusing on losing weight, you're going to find it again. All these kind of big claim diets, yes, they work for 2 weeks. Yeah. They're perfect for a wedding. They're perfect for that outfit. And then what? Then all they do is trigger this soundtrack in your head that says, you're a failure. You didn't do it again. I don't know why you're bothering. And actually, every time we do it, we're focused on these things when it comes down to several things. 1, you can't hanker after a person you once were. You have to target the person you want to be and start being it. Yeah. 2, it's about commitment. Do you really want it? And if so, what are you prepared to do about it? 3, flexibility. Are you able to pick yourself up when you have that biscuit or that glass of wine? And my Way Less, Play Bigger course is about going, stuff all that. Eat what you love until you don't love it anymore. Simple. And I've broken that into a very crude summary, but it's a mindset course. It's about weighing less emotionally and getting rid of all the noise, that constant judgment that's in your head, because that's the thing that doesn't sustain weight release, in my opinion.
Yeah. I've been through this a lot since I was 8 years old. So I know I teach in my spare time because I was also a dancer. So I teach in my spare time dancing as well. But for me, the umbrella of losing weight or putting weight has everything to do with control and love. It's a love for yourself. It's a love for something outside of you, and it's controlling. So when you really get into fitness, you controlling outside and not inside. And then you find the balance between the two. And the control, it just gives you the sense of that you are in control of your life and you don't want to lose the reins. But that's where the mindset then also comes in, where you have to just be easy on yourself. It's okay. You're allowed to just slip it. It's all right.
It's about trust, I think. Control is what people put in place when they don't trust themselves. I've lost a great deal of weight using this technique, and having dieted for over a decade, and it's because I trust myself. I think it's okay that I am going to choose to eat and drink that today, and I haven't got a mindset where I have to be good tomorrow. I just think, you know what, I am who I am, and I trust myself to eat what I want to eat, and I don't eat what I don't really love, and that's what's been the big change for me, because people just eat out of habit. They eat because the biscuit tin's open. They eat because everyone's saying, oh, go on, why don't you have a slice, or why don't you have another drink? Do you want it? It comes back to being, I guess it's selfish really, but putting you and your needs first. But as women in particular, we don't listen to that.
Yeah, no, we don't. We just forget about it.
We resist it. It's bizarre.
And we kind of which brings me to my next question. When we're resisting something, we're procrastinating, we're postponing because we don't have any information. We're not educated about it. So just overwhelm, you just push it to the side. And I'd like to know from you, what's the danger in postponing stuff in one's life? Do you have any tips to bust those dangers or to limiting beliefs about postponing and overwhelm?
Yeah, I mean, I call it happiness deferral, and it comes down to attachment. So people quite often say, I'll be happy when I lose that weight, or when I get that promotion, or when I get X and Y. And, the key is to be happy with what you've got now, because there's a massive risk that when you get that thing, you still won't be happy. You'll just want something else that you also don't have.
Yeah.
And I have heard that message before, and I didn't find it very helpful. So I'm going to try and make it more helpful, which is it comes down to being, I guess, grateful for what you have without having to have a health scare first, without having to have a near-death experience first. I met a lady yesterday who wakes up now and says she's grateful for her husband every day because he nearly died 6 weeks ago. So it's not that she wasn't grateful before, it's that she wasn't taking the time to say, wow, I am so lucky to have him in my life. Now, I have always felt that way about my husband, near-death experience or not. And it gets judged. Well, it's all right for you two, you're so loved up. Well, it's okay for you because Well, it's not okay for me. I made a choice. I made a choice to value him above most other things in life. I value my child. I value my own time. I value peace. And those things aren't dependent on anything, but they are conscious choices. So again, there's a really common theme throughout all these questions, isn't there? It's just work out what you want and honor it. That's what it boils down to. And when you allow influences in your life, whether they be other people, external pressures, terror that's going on in the world, don't watch the news, because I choose not to let those things in. And I know I will be happier with my life if I don't let those things in. Ignorance, possibly, but I'm happy. And I know that when I watch BBC News 24 on roll like I used to, I'm not so happy.
Yeah.
So I think it's about choices. It's about honouring what it is you really want. There's no kind of magic wand, and there's no difficult process. It's just choose. Are you wedded to your unhappiness more than you're wedded to being happy?
Yeah.
Are you putting things in the way, and are you sabotaging your own happiness or your own success, or whatever that good state looks like? It's not dependent on anything external to you and your brain and your heart.
Definitely. Because you were talking about what books we're reading reading. So I am
Yeah.
reading. I stopped that. I stopped reading different books at the same time because I'd be doing research. And one of the books that I'm reading at the moment is from, I hope I'm saying his surname right, Mo Gaudat. And it's a book called Soul for Happiness. And it's about the equation of happiness, how to find happiness. And he summed it up in a nutshell, which has blown me away because it has a lot of relevance to do with my daughter as well. The more expectations that you have, the less happy you are. The less expectations you have, the happier you are. And like you were saying, when you're watching the news, you build up all these expectations of dying and everything's going to, so you become less happy because you've created all these expectations. But if you just go through life just like whatever comes, hey, whatever happens, it changes the whole perspective and you're just happier. Like if you want to wait. Yeah.
It does. However, I would have struggled with that. So I'd probably still struggle with that in the sense that two reasons. So first, we grow up having expectations.
Yeah.
So this is part of the problem of honouring our own needs because, up until the age of 5, we're probably quite happy. We got everything we wanted. We screamed when we didn't get it or, we whatever. But then we had these teacher people that came into our lives and that were trying to influence, and these parents people. And then we had these grades that were important. And then we had this deliverable at work that was important. And so, all of that is expectation. I think to let go of them completely is difficult.
Yeah.
The other thing I would struggle with is around expectations as they relate to standards. So I have certain standards, aka boundaries, and when I think something is not acceptable, I want to feel that I can honour that without going, well, if you didn't expect anything from that friend or from your husband, then you'd be okay, wouldn't you? Well, yeah, but I'd also be walked all over and I actually wouldn't be happy. So I do get the principle, and it's almost like being, reasonable versus being unreasonable. Sometimes it's good to be unreasonable, and there are certain expectations that I have of myself that I don't really want to surrender.
Yeah, definitely with you on that one. That's so true. I have you often speak about taking a leap. Now, why do you feel the leap has more impact than shuffling across to where you want to go slowly?
I actually don't. And so that's a classic case of marketing. So everyone wants to take a leap, but they don't really.
Oh, really?
They want that result over there that is across the chasm.
Yeah.
And, I had this exact conversation with a client of mine, actually, where I said, you're standing on the edge of this cliff with your hands over your eyes in dread. And you've been there so long, you haven't realised that in all that time, the chasm's filled in and you could just walk across it at this point. Just have to put the foot in front of the next foot and you're going to cross it. But you've had your hands over your eyes the whole time. So I think there's, go back to your deferring of happiness thing, that you can take so long that the landscape is different. You could have missed an opportunity. Yeah. But the fact is, you've got to look. You can't be going, I'm at the top of this cliff and it's a massive leap. Because it might not be. And I think that people, for example, getting on the radio. Maybe you want to get on the radio and that's a massive leap to you. And it's a bit like that film In the Pursuit of Happiness, where the guy has to ring through the entire telephone directory. That's the process to get to the cream of the crop opportunities. Or you could just ring the person who's at the top of the list rather than working your way through it. And so, well, why don't you, if you want to get on the radio, why aren't you ringing the radio station? Yeah. And some people will be like, oh, well, I thought it was better to read a book about how to get on the radio and then really contemplate on what being on the radio would feel like. I just think, well, you could do that, but you are procrastinating. Like, pick up the phone and get on the radio. And so I think the reality is, if I have a client today and their objective is to get on the radio, I'm not going to say, yeah, ring up and get on the radio. I'm going to have to deal with the beliefs that are in the way of why they think they can't just pick up the phone. Why just picking up the phone hasn't even occurred to that person. Yeah. Because if I don't do that, it's a bit like those diets where, you can lose a stone in a week. If you haven't changed anything else in your life, you didn't change the way you eat really long term, you're just going to go straight back to it. You haven't changed any of your thinking. You haven't changed any of your habits. You haven't changed any of your fears. You haven't dealt with those. Then you're not actually going to get there persistently and consistently. And for me, that's why I could have a miraculous set of results potentially if I said just pick up up the phone and call the radio. But they won't. That's why they're working with me. So I have to stretch them in a way that I stretch myself, take them out of their comfort zone in thematic ways, so that in a month's time, when they say, I can't do that, I say, but you did that other thing, remember? And then they go, yeah, okay, that's a good point. And I say, so actually doing this now is not such a leap, is it? And then they go, true. And then I like to put some time pressure on them. So I say, in the next 25 minutes, I want you to do X, before they can talk themselves out of it. Because that's what works for me too.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
The longer you think about it, the less likely you are to do it.
Exactly. 5-second rule. Just do
Absolutely, yeah.
3, 2, 1.
I haven't quite mastered those 5 seconds yet, but within half an hour, I can do it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, God. So I read something which is really, really cool. And I wanted to ask you about this. So at the age of 11, Miss Nunnery, your favorite teacher, packed you off to school with the advice, don't give them all the answers. Now, what did she mean with this? And did you get it when she said this?
No, I didn't get the profound nature of it. I was your classic teacher's pet. She loved me. I loved her. She loved me because I listened to what she said. I hoovered up all the knowledge she gave me and I applied it and made it my own. I was a teacher's dream from that point of view. And she obviously saw in me that that was not going to serve me for the rest of my life. She was talking about high school, but really she was talking about life. And so say, for example, that person who wants to get on the radio, I go, I'll tell you what, I'll just call the radio for you. I'll get you on tomorrow. That's not going to help them in exactly the way as I've just described. They're not going to find their own way. And I think she was actually trying to say, stop rescuing people.
Wow.
And as a coach, when you train, textbook coach training is don't ever give the answers. And so, I had to go through that. That was difficult for me. Silence was difficult for me. Yeah. When you know the answer, when you've got a team that you're trying to develop, and of course you could just do it in half an hour. And yeah, it's going to take them a week and you're going to have to keep giving them feedback. That's painful, but it means they'll do it on their own next time and they'll grow. And I will have contributed to that growth. It wasn't just about me. It was about how other people will benefit if I facilitate them to the end point rather than just go, I'll tell you what, I'll rescue you and save you the effort, because it's going through that is going to build them. And it built me too, because my natural preference was to just do it all myself and give everyone the answers and not be held up by anyone. I have a fast pace and I didn't want anyone in my way. And I had to learn that.
It is difficult to learn. But isn't it great when you do learn it and you're like, oh my God, I'm not really an island. I don't have to be on this island on my own. I can actually speak to people. And
you know what? I'm still learning that. I am still learning that, because my natural preference, going back to what you said about people not finishing, my natural preference is, how am I going to do this? Rather than how can this be done? So I have to stop myself and think and feel. It's not always about analysing it. It's about going, how do I feel about this? And for me, sharing how I felt about it was alien compared to sharing how I thought about it. And I think she saw that in that one simple, don't give them the answers.
What a wise woman. Wow.
She was wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Very unpopular.
Really?
Very unpopular. Yeah, she was strict. She was really strict.
Strict is good. I like it.
Yeah. I respected her.
So we're coming near the end. Like, that's how quick time goes.
Yeah, right.
Every time I finish an interview, I'm going, oh my God, I've got all this. I just don't. Anyway.
I'm warming up.
Exactly. So at the end of each of the interviews, I like to ask everyone the same question. It's about my core values and what your take on it is. So filling in the blanks. So passion for you is?
Love.
Wisdom for you is?
Honesty.
Creativity for you is?
Space.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, cool. And how do you want to change the world or challenge the world with what you do?
I want to just challenge assumptions, really. So I think we tend to assume the worst rather than assuming the best. Perfectly illustrated by my 5-year-old, who will ask a question or make a statement that assumes the answer will be no. So, well, I really wanted to watch my program. What do you want? Ask for what you want and assume that you'll get it. Papa, can I watch Ben and Holly? And, he grimaces, but of course, who can say no to that face, right? Whereas if she's saying, well, I wanted to watch my program, not only has she depressed everyone, including herself, but she's also really unlikely to get it. So I just think if everyone just asked for what they wanted and assumed that they would get it, the whole world somehow would level out and everyone would get what they wanted. And this whole kind of conflict of people treading in areas that they don't even want, then there'd be enough for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think the impact I want to make is challenging people's level of honesty first, and then their level of assumptions about them being happy and getting what they want from life.
I love that. There's such awesome answers. It makes me think afterwards. I'm like, oh, yes. Wow. Because I'm all about challenging the status quo. So it's like, oh, no, I'm going to have to think about that, what Susie said. I love it. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Really insightful. And it was, as I said in the beginning, a kick butt coach.
A loving one, hopefully.
Yeah. And really challenging those assumptions. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here with us, and have a wonderful weekend.
I will. Thank you. You too. See you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Dang, that was just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I enjoyed having you on board, and please do me and you a favor. Head on over to iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Click subscribe, and a super bonus, leave your review and you stand a chance of being announced and advertised on the show. I'm always striving to ensure that your brand is uplifted and empowered. Remember, done is better than perfect. So be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and send in your feedback too. You're the absolute best. Keep rocking.